Aloha and welcome back to Ninth Island RC. Now I know it's been 2-3 weeks since I've uploaded anything, and I do apologize. You know, once the upgrade parts from Rlaarlo arrived and I got them installed, I had fully planned on doing a video showcasing the upgrades and also doing a shakedown run. You know, just getting it tested first on 2S and maybe on 3S, but just to see how everything was handling. However, after getting the Rlaarlo upgrade parts installed, I received notification of another upgrade being delivered. So, 2 days later that got delivered, and then work picked up. And I was working non-stop for the next week after that. And then we hit the 2-week dead period, literally zero work for 2 weeks. The week before and the week after 4th of July. Perfect opportunity to start doing videos, right? Wrong. Temperatures. We have been experiencing triple-digit temps, which, you know, normally that is considered normal for this time of year, but considering temperatures prior to that had been much lower than normal, and then all of a sudden to be getting hit with that, you know, obviously can't do any videos, can't run the car outside. Just to give you an idea, 2 days ago, it wasn't even noon, and it was already 112 degrees. So, yeah, running car is going to have to be held off for a little while, and obviously not just this, but any of my others. I still want to do the shakedown on the post-upgrade install on the Traxxas sledge, which, as you can see, is sitting right there waiting to run. So, in the meantime, I thought I'd just get a quick video done showing the upgrades. And obviously the first one you do see is the bat wings. Sorry, Roz, I had to refer to that because, you know, consider it, honestly, should consider it a compliment. They know how incredible your design is, even right down to copying the little vanes. So to me, that would be a compliment on what you designed. Some people are wondering where to install it because there's no instructions. Some have installed it way forward. And what that does is, instead of having this little bit behind, it ends up being up here, leaving a huge gap. So when air flows, instead of always flowing straight back, some of it escapes out the side. And that can cause your car to be unstable. So I highly recommend installing them far enough back that there's just a little bit of an end behind, and it you know, basically, yeah, there is going to be a tiny little gap there, but it's almost not noticeable, and it will allow the air to flow straight back. Moving on to the inside. Going to start with that one little extra upgrade that I got. Thank you, Unfair RC. And no, they did not send it to me free. Obviously, I did pay for it. But you've got the carbon fiber front splitter. It is a 2-piece design. There is a splitter mount that actually attaches to the same 3 holes that holds the entire front bumper piece on the normal one. This is a 2-piece design, and then the splitter is held via 3 screws here, and obviously the same, you know, connection up here, except that now you are using 2 screws here. You're using the flathead screw from the bottom that screws into an aluminum upright that's inside, and then this screw screws down into it. Obviously the original didn't have one of them, I forget which, but, you know, and then underneath the plastic piece there is a nut. You use a shorter flathead screw that goes in from the bottom. Obviously this one right here. And then it screws into a nut, which you have to do before you put the bumper on, before you put the top piece on. Additionally, there are 2 aluminum upright pieces, one under this screw and one under that screw. The full kit does include all hardware, including the 1 additional screw and the nut. You know, honestly, I think it's going to be a great upgrade. One thing to note, for the body posts, you will need to lower the front ones by 1 hole. Otherwise, you will end up with a gap between the splitter and the underside of the body. By lowering it one hole, that will help push it down. In reality, the actual gap distance would be equal to about a half of a hole. So it will slightly push the body upward just a little bit, but honestly, I don't think it's going to affect performance. Moving on to the other upgrades. You got the aluminum front upper suspension arm and the aluminum rear upper suspension arm. And then, I know it's a little hard to see, I apologize, but inside we've got the aluminum bulkheads. I did order 2 sets, one for the front, one for the rear. I know, the YouTubers who received the cars free and then also received an upgrade parts package free, for some unknown reason, they only received 1 set of the aluminum bulkhead mounts. So, not sure why that would be, especially when you really want to have them both front and rear. I ordered both. What else do we got? Oh yeah, got the adjustable motor mount. Let me flip this around so you can see. My fan, I took it off actually just so that you can see this. So the adjustable motor mount is a 2-piece design. You've got the motor mount itself, and then you've got the motor plate. The motor bolts directly to the motor plate. It makes it a lot easier to change pinions. The motor plate is held in place by just these 2 screws. So if you need, it also allows easier adjustment of the mesh. Honestly, it's a much better design than the one that the stock one that it came with. You may also notice that I have switched to 32P gearing. I'm not going to say what I'm running, but on 2S, theoretically, should hit about 66 miles an hour. And on 3S, which is what this car will eventually be running on, should be easily into the low 90s. Not sure what it'll actually hit, but, gonna see. As you can also see right now, I have also switched the receiver. This is a dual antenna receiver, so we've got one antenna coming out the back. And, if you look at what I did with the body, you're going to see I basically notched out a little area. Trying to get this in focus. There, sort of, kind of. So that will actually center the antenna straight out. It does stick out from the back of the body slightly, but that shouldn't, that obviously shouldn't cause any problem. The other antenna is going up here. Now this is not a permanent, not necessarily a permanent setup, because I also have the TBS Crossfire, which I will use definitely on the 4S version of the car once I get around to building that. For this, I haven't decided, so I'm just going to keep the Radiolink receiver in there for now. You can also see the completed installation of the Servo Relocation, and as you see, I did go back to the stock arm. So in steering, it doesn't actually touch. It's about 1 millimeter away from the top brace, which is good. And then something I did was the original servo mount. I'm using that to help hold the GNS receiver. Mounted this way, it is the exact same, this is actually just slightly longer by not even 1/4 of a millimeter, probably 0.1, maybe 0.2 at the most, but push them out. What I did was, you can see I used a couple of screws, and then a rubber band. So this is prevented by going side to side because of the servo mount. Front and rear, you notice I also did use some foam pads. These foam pads, this one is adhered to the bottom of the servo. This one is adhered to the end. And this perfectly positions the GPS so that it's not going to come out, And you can see how I mounted it using 2 screws. There's 2 nuts. I did have to drill 2 holes through the top brace, same as I did for the servo mount. But putting this in is super simple. You start with the end that's a little lower, and then get it in down a little bit, and then push it against the end that's higher, and then it just goes right into place. And apologize, I'm trying to do this one-handed. But let's see, hold on a second. Trying to get the rubber band back on. There we go. Got one side, got the other side, and there it is. It's back in place. What else? Oh, yeah, sorry, almost forgot. So we've got the aluminum front steering uprights and the aluminum rear uprights. I think, honestly, that may be all the upgrades from Rlaarlo. Another thing added is a fan. This is an Integy fan, but it's a dual fan setup. And it easily fits. You notice that I rotated the motor. Something else I'm using is I've repositioned the ESC. You can see that. And what I'm using to hold it in place from RPM, the ESC cage that was designed for the Mamba Monster S also fits the Traxxas VXL, the regular VXL, the 3S, and I think it also 4S. I don't remember on that ESC, but I did have to Dremel out a bit to fit it in, but it is held in place. Underneath, it's held in place by some double-sided tape. As for how the base of it is held to the chassis, you can see here. Let me flip this over, and you see that I drilled and did countersink on 2 holes, and that would be the 2 holes that are, let's see, one is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. There's a nut holding it in place, and then obviously the other one, that one you can easily see, nut holding it in place. And then I also do have double-sided tape underneath just for extra security. So honestly, I do believe that's all the upgrades that I've done. I will be testing out some, I do have an extra set of the carbon cloth lined carbon cloth lined tires, which I am mounting on plastic Tamiya wheels. That would be the narrow medium 1/10 scale wheels. Basically what you would find on most of their TC chassis. It has a 0 offset. The offset is identical to the offset of the stock wheels. And beyond that, that's about it. So hopefully the weather cools down soon before I go back to work so that I can finally get this thing out on the road and get a shakedown done. Also want to, test out the new Radiolink RC8X transmitter, both before, without the Crossfire, see how it works, and then eventually I will get around to testing the Crossfire. We'll also do some distance testing. Nice thing about the Crossfire is that you can program the power output. I believe settings are 0.5 watt, 1 watt, 2 watt. For surface, I don't know what the distance is. I know that Crossfire has obtained distances of 45 miles with a plane. Now with a surface, it's probably going to be much less than that. Although I will be testing out 2 different antennas, one of which, the diamond antenna, is actually designed for ground and also for drones and planes that fly low to the ground. So we'll test out both. But that's it for now. Please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And once again, mahalo. Until next time.